I still remember the morning I left for my first international flight. My name is Leo Carter, and I was flying to London for a training program in digital design. It was supposed to be one of the biggest moments of my life, exciting, but also a little terrifying. I arrived at the airport terminal 3 hours early, clutching my boarding pass and passport. My palms were slightly sweaty, and my heart was racing. The terminal was crowded and bustling with noise, people pulling trolleys, airport staff giving directions, and families hugging each other near the departure gate. Terminal means the main building at an airport where passengers arrive and leave. Departure gate refers to the area in the airport where passengers wait to get on the plane. Bustling describes a place full of busy movement and energy. The loud announcements echoed through the hall. Attention passengers, Flight 207 to Frankfurt is now boarding at Gate 14. I looked up at the huge electronic display board, trying to locate my gate number, 22A. I followed the arrows carefully, afraid I might get lost in the crowd. Locate refers to finding the position of something. When I reached the security checkpoint, I felt my throat go dry. I placed my backpack, jacket, and phone into a gray plastic tray and pushed it along the conveyor belt. The security officer gave me a polite nod. Conveyor belt is the moving belt that carries items through the scanner. He said, "Please remove your shoes and belt." I smiled awkwardly and replied, "Of course." Awkwardly describes acting in a slightly uncomfortable or clumsy way. After walking through the metal detector, I collected my belongings and moved ahead. I tried to breathe steadily, but airports always make me feel like I'm taking an exam, anxious, careful, and worried I might forget something. Anxious means nervous or worried about what might happen. Belongings are personal items that belong to you. Finally, I found Gate 22A. I sank into a chair and sighed in relief, but my relief didn't last long. The screen above me suddenly flashed in red letters, "Flight delayed due to technical reasons." I leaned back and tried to stay calm. "Okay, Leo," I whispered to myself, "you can handle this." Handle something means to manage a situation calmly and effectively. Beside me sat an elderly woman, knitting a blue scarf. She looked up and smiled. "First time flying alone?" she asked gently. "Yes," I admitted. "How did you know?" She chuckled softly. "Because I looked exactly like you on my first flight, terrified but pretending to be fine." Elderly refers to someone old, said in a polite and respectful way. Admit means to agree or confess that something is true. Chuckled means laughed quietly. Her name was Mrs. Parker, and she was also going to London to visit her daughter and grandson. She spoke in such a calm, reassuring way that my shoulders relaxed without me realizing it. Reassuring describes making someone feel less worried. After about an hour, the final announcement came. Flight 305 to London is now ready for boarding. Everyone stood up immediately, forming a long line. I grabbed my small black backpack and followed the crowd toward the gate. Boarding is the process of getting onto an airplane. Inside the plane, I found my seat number, 24A, beside the window. I fastened my seat belt and exhaled, feeling a mix of excitement and relief. But then I decided to take out my earphones from my bag. As soon as I opened it, I froze. It wasn't my bag. Inside were balls of yarn, knitting needles, and a half-finished scarf. My backpack had been switched. My passport, wallet, and laptop were gone. Yarn is thick thread used for knitting. Switched means accidentally exchanged or changed with something else. Panic rose in my chest. I waved at the flight attendant. "Excuse me," I said quickly, "I think I picked up the wrong bag, mine looks exactly the same." She gave me a professional smile. "Please remain seated, sir. I'll inform the ground staff immediately." Inform means to officially tell someone something. Ground staff refers to airport employees who work on the ground, not on the airplane. But before she returned, the aircraft doors sealed shut, and the captain's voice came through the speaker. "Cabin crew, prepare for takeoff." Sealed shut means closed tightly so nothing can get in or out. I couldn't believe it. I had Mrs. Parker's knitting bag, and she probably had mine, with my passport inside. Luckily, a few minutes later, there was another delay due to a technical check. I explained my problem again, and this time the crew let me go back through the jet bridge to the terminal. Jet bridge is the enclosed walkway connecting the airport gate to the airplane. I sprinted back, clutching the wrong bag like it was my lifeline. Sprint means to run at full speed. Clutch means to hold something tightly. Lifeline is something that saves you from trouble or danger. Near the waiting area, I saw Mrs. Parker looking completely panicked, her eyes darting around. Panic describes someone suddenly very frightened or worried. When she spotted me, she gasped in relief. "Oh dear, you've got my bag," she said, half laughing, half crying. "And you've got mine." I panted. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Parker." We both laughed nervously as we exchanged our backpacks. She patted my shoulder kindly. "It's all right, dear," she said with a warm smile. Sometimes life gives you a delay for a good reason. Pat someone on the shoulder means to touch someone lightly to show kindness or comfort. For a good reason refers to something happening with a positive purpose, even if it's not clear yet. I wanted to thank her properly, so I said, "You've really been a lifesaver." Lifesaver is someone who helps you in a difficult situation. My flight had already left, but strangely, I wasn't angry. I actually felt calm, as if this whole mix-up was meant to teach me something. I booked a seat on the next available flight and sat at a nearby cafe, sipping coffee slowly instead of gulping it down. Sip means to drink slowly, taking small amounts at a time. Gulp down means to drink or eat something quickly. I replayed the entire morning in my head. I realized how much I had been rushing, through security, through crowds, even through my own thoughts. I had been so focused on avoiding mistakes that I ended up making one. I smiled to myself. Maybe Mrs. Parker was right, delays sometimes happen for a reason. When my new flight was announced, I walked to the gate calmly. Instead of running, I took my time. Take your time means to do something slowly and without rushing. The flight attendant greeted me cheerfully. "Welcome aboard, sir." This time I replied, "Thank you. Glad to be on board." You can also say, "Pleasure to be flying with you," a polite, friendly phrase instead of a plain thanks. When the plane finally took off, I watched the city lights fade below the clouds. The world looked peaceful from up here. The man sitting beside me started a bit of small talk about movies, and to my surprise, I found myself enjoying it. Small talk refers to light, casual conversation about simple topics. A few hours later, the cabin lights dimmed, and I looked out of the window. The night sky was dotted with stars, and the airplane wings gleamed faintly in the moonlight. Dimmed means became less bright. Gleamed faintly means shone softly or slightly. I thought about Mrs. Parker, her calmness, her kindness. A total stranger, yet she had made my chaotic morning feel peaceful. Chaotic means very disorganized or confusing. When the plane landed at Heathrow Airport, I felt both excited and exhausted. I went straight to the baggage carousel to collect my luggage, and double-checked the tag this time. Carousel is the moving belt where luggage arrives after a flight. At immigration, the officer asked me my purpose of visit. "I'm here for a training program," I said clearly. He stamped my passport and said, "Enjoy your stay, Mr. Carter." "Appreciate that," I replied politely. Appreciate that is a polite way to say thank you. Outside, I followed the signs toward the taxi rank. A driver in a navy blue jacket called out, "Need a lift, mate?" "Yes, please." "To Grenell Guest House," I answered. Taxi rank refers to the area where taxis wait for passengers. Need a lift is a casual way of asking if someone needs a ride. He helped me load my suitcase into the trunk, and we drove off through the city. I watched the scenery, red double-decker buses, people with umbrellas, tiny cafes glowing with warm lights. Scenery means the view or surroundings you see. When we reached the guest house, a woman at the reception desk greeted me with a bright smile. "You must be Leo Carter. We've been expecting you." "It's a pleasure to finally be here," I said. "It's a pleasure to be here" is a more advanced and polite way to say nice to be here. She handed me my key card and said, "Breakfast is from 7 to 9. Please make yourself comfortable." Make yourself comfortable means to relax and feel at home. I thanked her and went up the narrow staircase to my room. It was small but cozy, with a soft bed, a desk, and a window overlooking a quiet garden. That night, lying on the bed, I thought about everything that had happened. From the wrong bag to the missed flight, each moment had tested my patience, but also taught me something. I realized that staying calm during confusion is a real strength, and sometimes what feels like a mistake is just life's gentle way of slowing you down. Slowing you down means making you move or act less quickly. Gentle way refers to a soft or kind method of teaching a lesson. I closed my eyes and whispered to myself, "Next time, Leo, remember, even delays can take you where you're meant to be." When I woke up the next morning, the first thing I noticed was the sound of birds outside my window and a faint smell of toast drifting through the hallway. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then it hit me, I was in London. Drifting means moving slowly through the air. I got ready quickly, trying to look fresh and confident for my first day of training. Downstairs in the dining area, the owner, Mrs. Collins, greeted me with a warm smile. "Good morning, Leo. Did you sleep well?" "Yes, thank you. I slept like a log," I said jokingly. Slept like a log means slept very deeply. She chuckled. "That's good to hear. Help yourself to breakfast." Help yourself means please take what you want. I filled my plate with toast, eggs, and some fruit. A few other guests nodded politely and said, "Morning," and I replied, "Morning. How's it going?" Instead of always saying good morning or hello, you can say morning, how's it going, or how have you been? All sound natural and friendly. After breakfast, I took a short walk before my session. The air was crisp, and the streets were already busy with people. Small shops were opening, and the smell of fresh coffee came from every corner cafe. Crisp air means pleasantly cool and fresh air. I reached the training center, where a woman at the reception desk smiled and said, "Good morning, how can I assist you?" "I'm here for the digital design program," I replied politely. Assist means help, usually in a formal or polite way. She gave me a visitor badge and directed me to room 3B, where the class was being held. Inside, everyone seemed a bit nervous but friendly. A guy with brown hair turned to me and said, "Hey, I'm Ethan." "Nice to meet you, I'm Leo," I replied, shaking his hand. Nice to meet you is a common greeting when meeting someone for the first time. As the day went on, I learned about new design tools, color theory, and client communication. The trainer was engaging and supportive. We did group work, exchanged ideas, and even laughed about the differences in our accents. Engaging means interesting and holding your attention. Supportive means helpful and encouraging. By the end of the session, I felt surprisingly confident. Ethan and I decided to grab lunch together at a nearby cafe. Grab lunch means to have lunch in an informal way. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee beans and baked pastries. We ordered sandwiches, and while we waited, we talked about home, hobbies, and the struggles of being new in a big city. When we finished eating, Ethan said, "You know, Leo, you should come over sometime. My mum loves meeting new people. She'll insist on cooking something special for you." Insist on means to strongly encourage or demand something. I smiled and said, "That sounds great. I'd love to come." A few days passed. I was getting used to my daily routine, training during the day, walking by the Thames in the evening, and chatting with Mrs. Collins at breakfast. London was starting to feel familiar, like a city that accepted you if you gave it time. Familiar means something you recognize or feel comfortable with. One Thursday afternoon, Ethan called me. "Hey, Leo, my mum's making dinner tonight. You're officially invited. She makes the best shepherd's pie in the world." Officially invited means the invitation is sincere and proper. Shepherd's pie is a traditional British dish made with meat and mashed potatoes. I accepted gladly. That evening, I dressed neatly, not too formal, but presentable. When I arrived at their house, Ethan opened the door with a big grin. "Welcome, mate. Come in, you're just in time." "Thanks. It's lovely to be here," I said. Big grin refers to a very wide, happy smile. The house smelled of homemade food. I could hear soft music playing and the sound of someone laughing in the kitchen. Ethan led me inside, saying, "Mum, this is my friend Leo from training." I stepped forward, and my jaw dropped. It was Mrs. Parker, the same elderly woman from the airport. She turned around, holding a bowl of salad, and froze just like I did. For a second, both of us just stared, then burst out laughing at the exact same time. Burst out laughing means to suddenly start laughing loudly. "Mrs. Parker!" I exclaimed. "I can't believe this." Ethan looked confused. "Wait, you two know each other?" Mrs. Parker smiled. "Oh, we've had quite an adventure at the airport." We told Ethan the entire story, the mix-up, the delay, the panic, the laugh. He couldn't stop laughing. "Mum, you really need to label your bags next time," he teased. Teased means joked or made fun of. The rest of the evening was wonderful. We had dinner together, talked about travel, and shared funny stories. Mrs. Parker kept refilling my plate and saying, "Eat more, dear, you need energy to explore London." Refill means to fill something again. Ethan and I helped clean up after dinner. As I was leaving, Mrs. Parker said, "Leo, I'm so happy to see you again, and this time under better circumstances." Under better circumstances means in a happier or more positive situation. I laughed. "You know, Mrs. Parker, you were right that day. Life really does have delays for a reason." Does have adds emphasis to show strong agreement. She smiled kindly. "Exactly, dear. You missed that flight, but it brought you right to our door, didn't it?" Brought you right to our door is an idiom meaning it led you to us in the end. As I walked out, the cool night air brushed against my face, and I looked up at the starry sky. London lights shimmered in the distance, and I couldn't help but think how life's accidents sometimes lead to the most beautiful coincidences. Shimmered means shined softly with a flickering light. Coincidences means unexpected events that happen together by chance. Over the next few weeks, Mrs. Parker often invited me for tea. We talked about everything: travel, kindness, and the little mistakes that teach us big lessons. She even knitted me a blue scarf, the same color as the one she'd been making at the airport. One evening, as I wore the scarf on my way home, I thought to myself, life really is full of mix-ups, but maybe every mix-up carries a quiet purpose. Carries a purpose means has a reason or meaning behind it. I smiled, whispering the same line I'd told myself before. Even delays can take you where you're meant to be. And this time, I truly understood what it meant.